Ladies and gentlemen, give them a round of applause.
Hey, here we are.
These guys.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Have fun.
Hey, Nashville, how are y'all doing? All right, how many of y'all are entrepreneurs in the crowd right now? How many people, raise your hand if you're an entrepreneur, you're starting a company, CTO. You're a CTO. Yeah, you've started companies, it's fine. I'll give it to you. I'll give you this one. How many of y'all wear glasses? I can't see because I'm blind, because I wear glasses also. These lights are really bright. How many of y'all have bought glasses from Warby Parker? There we go, so a few. So we're talking to the crowd here. Lon, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. We need no introduction. Warby Parker is one of the most successful retail startups that's come about in this last 5-7 year boom online. Wow, these chairs are really like massive.
I'm gonna be asleep.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get cozy. So one of the things that's impressive to me about what Warby's done is been so successful at branding themselves as a fashion company, as a retail company, as a style company, a brand, a lifestyle, and aesthetic. But it's also a tech company. And as CTO, do you ever feel like you get short shrift on that stuff? Are you ever like, come on, guys, come on, I do stuff too. So like, what is the tech that's driving this like identification that people have with Warby as a brand, as a lifestyle? What's behind that from your end? When you think about like the tech aspect of it, what are you doing?
Thanks. Well, right before I answer that, I just wanted to thank you for doing this with me, and also wanted to thank Mayor Dean for inviting us and being such a gracious host in the city, and 3686, unbelievable event. It's interesting, so thinking about Warby Parker, our business really has three pillars or legs. So one of them is absolutely lifestyle brand.
Right.
And I think it's the one that people know us the best for. It's definitely one that I get asked during interviews. I'm talking to an engineering candidate and they'll say, especially in the early days, why does an eyeglasses company need a software engineer? That doesn't make any sense. So
right.
I definitely get that on a regular basis, but there's two other really critical pillars to our business. So one of them is doing good in the world, and that's something that we've taken very seriously. And there's a lot of talk about kind of our buy a pair, give a pair program, which is in fact actually a partnership with some community enterprise organizations such as...
Well, Vision Spring, right?
Vision Spring is our biggest
partner. Which is where
partner.
Neil was before he was at Warby.
It was. So actually, I'll just tell you a quick story on a tangent. During my interview at Warby Parker, this is going back 3.5 years ago, I said to Dave and Neil, our co-CEOs, this is really incredible for me because I've actually worked at 2 previous vision-related businesses before. So one was a charity related to vision called Heritage for the Blind, and then a second was a company called Skojo, which was not totally dissimilar. They were focused on readers, no pun intended. They had a very kind of brand aesthetic, but they were really focused on the lower end of the market. Really incredible organization, started by 2 guys, Scott and Jordan. And as I'm telling this story to Neil, and also what I told him is that project that I was involved with, my side of it, the technology, didn't go very well. And it was always something I wanted to revisit.
Right.
And Neil is chuckling along the way. And I was like, why are you laughing at me? It's kind of awkward. And he says, was it Jordan Cassellow? And I said, yes. And he said, well, Skojo's charitable arm became Vision Spring, where Neil worked as a director.
Right.
And so my life had really come in this full circle. I had no idea that happened. And so, yeah, so Neil worked at Vision Spring, which previously was part of Skojo, where I had done some consulting. And then, I don't know if that cemented or hurt my chances, but I got the job. And now what we've done is we've really focused on as well the third leg of our business, so to bring it back to that, which is reinventing retail. And this is something that requires a very big engineering investment. Right. We think the retail space is very interesting, and there's some incredible players out there, but there was really an opportunity to reinvent what's happening and what's the customer experience.
Yeah.
And so when we thought about this, every step of the way, we figured, how can we make this better? Right. And often what it comes back to for us is we have to roll our own, right? So we've had to build our own point of sale systems. We've come up with our own solutions for IT infrastructure and retail. And so it's been an interesting ride. And so engineering has fully cemented itself in Warby Parker it's that third
Well,
leg.
so there's so many things I want to talk to you about. One is what it's like to be a billion-dollar company, which seems really cool. I'm sure like all of the entrepreneurs in the room would like to get there. We'll talk about the CTO stuff and get back to the technical aspect. But from a fundraising perspective, considering we have all of these entrepreneurs in the audience, when y'all thought about going out to raise the last round and previous rounds before that, how much do y'all vet your investors? I mean, part of that is I think y'all can run the table now, right? I mean, Warby Parker was a brand sort of from the beginning. I remember when y'all first launched, people were talking about how great the glasses were and how cool it was, and I could never buy them because I'm blind, like pretty literally blind, which I'm going to yell at you about in a second as well. But when you think about fundraising, what is the strategy like an entrepreneur should have? What do you think about when you're looking at the types of people you want to take capital from? Or is that even in the calculus? Like when you've started companies before.
Right. It's a great question. It's hard. So I've started companies and I've gone out and sought investment, and it's tough. So oftentimes you might wait too long, and then there's a little bit of desperation that comes in, or you're thinking that it's very challenging to get money, and so the tables don't feel balanced.
Right.
Right. So the money is on the other side of the table, and you would like some of that money. It can be very difficult. But what's been interesting about Warby Parker, and it's been kind of a learning lesson for me as well. I joined the company just immediately after the Series A had closed, and Dave and Neil, and Andy and Jeff, our other two co-founders, were extremely thoughtful from the very beginning about the right investors. And so when they went out, they went early, and they went slow. And it was something that was really important to them. And our rounds have gotten faster over time because our brand has gotten stronger, which is helpful, but we've still been meticulous about it. And Steve Miller, our CFO, has been an unbelievable addition to the team. He joined right before I did. And working together, we've definitely feel like we've picked the investors as much as they've picked us. It's felt very balanced. And part of that has been finding investors who are willing to let us do that. Not all investors would, and we've really got a great team.
When you talk about what you need in different rounds, sort of the types of investors you need. The last one came from T. Rowe, right? And you said, we want T. Rowe. What was it about them? And then sort of previously, when you think about how a company grows, like are there particular aspects or particular things that you look for from a seed stage investor, from a Series A investor, from a Series B investor, that people should be aware of, and that sort of entrepreneurs can ask the investors about and say, okay, so this is where we're at as a company. What can you do for us?
It's probably a question better for Dave and Neil,
right,
they're really close to it. But we really want to find incredible investors who will be part of the Warby Parker team.
Right. And so y'all have actually, well, okay, now I'm going to yell at you a bit. So why doesn't Warby make glasses for people who have terrible, terrible vision like myself? Like why won't you do that? Or why hadn't you done that in the past?
It's a tough and good question. So one of the things that I'm going to be a little preachy about is being picky about scope. So every investor, every entrepreneur, anybody who's trying to get anything done, one of the things that we've often said to our team, that we tell everybody, is that if you want to tackle a game-changing problem, if you want to tackle something very big, you have to do it a bite at a time.
Right.
It's just...
How do you eat an elephant?
That's exactly right. One bite at a time. And this is the way that we've taken on our business. So when we originally launched our business, we sold a single vision in a fairly narrow band of prescription strengths. So for those of you who don't wear glasses, prescription strengths range from negative 10, 12, they get worse, up into the positive 8s and 9s. And the outer edges are more challenging as they're rarer. And what we wanted to do was really focus on the center of that range where the bulk of the market is. That's where the meat is, and where we could optimize our business. And we also focused on acetate frames, which was what we led the business with. And single vision just basically means there's a single prescription. And over time, what's been exciting while I've been at the company is that we've launched titanium frames, so metal, so the material of the frames we've now expanded. We've expanded to having progressives, so that's multifocal lenses, similar to trifocals or bifocals historically. And now we've also expanded our range, which is really incredible. We've done this based on customer feedback like yours, so we have customers who call in or email us or tweet at us or any way that they can find us coming to our stores and say, I just wish you would have this prescription. And we've taken that data, and that's how we've slowly incremented that range.
Right.
And we've also taken on more partners to help fulfill it. So we basically can fill almost any prescription at this point. There's a few minors that we're still working on that will be coming out, the little teas, but I'm confident now that we can fulfill your prescription.
So it's interesting to me, I was just thinking about this, like, y'all were certainly the first to sort of take this model well, take this one particular industry that had been dominated by a couple of big players that had really abused their customer base. You know, I'm like, buying glasses was a terrible, terrible thing for a very long time. But now that business, it's not super defensible, right? Like, y'all weren't making prescriptions for me, so I went to iBuyDirect.com, or I went to, one of the other, like, make your glasses online, or whatever it was. When you think about how you keep people coming back, how much of it now is about the lifestyle? How much of it is about sort of the technology on the back end to make that process seamless? And how do you see the company integrating the two? So let's get back to the tech stuff.
Yeah, it's a careful balance. So there's probably two different technology areas of the business to think about. So one is the product itself, and it's crucial that we have a good product. Otherwise, customers won't keep coming back, right? There's a certain minimum, and we keep working on that product and making the coatings better, making the hinges better, making the material better, thinking of more creative designs. So we absolutely invest in that. That's not an area that I'm extremely close to. The other half of it is the shopping experience, and that's one of the biggest drivers of word of mouth. So customers love the style of the frames, but they also like the shopping experience. And so speaking to the engineering, we've spent many, many meetings, lots and lots of our time, and people working on making that experience better.
Right.
And I'll give an example of how that works. So we were getting ready to open our first retail store, which is in Soho in New York City. It's on Green Street, and we had not opened a retail before. I've worked in e-commerce for 25 years, and I had no idea how to open a retail store. So we did what we did. We tried to take a bite at a time. And we went and we spoke to lots of other retailers. We sought out advice. We spoke to many vendors. And one of the feedback that we got is don't build a point of sale system. It's absolutely crucial that you buy one of the 80 products that are in the market of just mobile point of sale solutions. So we went out and we met with a bunch of companies that do it, and we had put together a scope, and that scope was as tight as possible, and we had prioritized the requirements. And one of, looking at that list, there was probably 2 or 3 elements of that list that we just couldn't bend on, and everything else had some give. And in the end, we found that the market couldn't serve our need. And part of that is because of the way the glasses are sold. Part of it is because of our home try-on business. There's a few other elements that are unique to Warby Parker. And so we decided to build it. And having an engineering team at that point was so invaluable. Having the resources in order to be able to say to that problem, I have a solution, it really was game-changing for us.
But how much of that is unique to Warby? Like, if for entrepreneurs that are in the audience right now that are thinking about building some sort of retail business and have their own sort of slice on or take on things, is it really good advice to tell people, okay, take that time, build out a point of sale solution, and make sure that you own it, versus maybe something off the shelf is right for these guys? What's the calculus there? Like,
yeah, I would say it's probably terrible advice. Don't do that. But the advice that I have for you is you need to have the answer. So the solution is out there. The answer is always yes. The question is what it's going to give, right? So in some situations it's going to be money. In other cases, but you can't just instantly hire engineers. I suspect that a lot of the people in this audience have tried to find engineers, have realized that it's a very tight market. The pay is increasing, and there's very competitive. So if you are approaching rapidly a problem and you want to build it, if that is in the end, and by the way, that was our last choice,
right.
But in the end it was the right solution and it's paid out. But if you get there and you don't have the people, it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
And the point of sale solution, the reason that I mentioned that in regards to being unique to Warby Parker is what we built drives our business. It facilitates our customer experience, and we've made it just Warby Parker.
Right.
It's just who we are, and that's not something that we wanted anybody else to help with. It's not something we wanted to outsource, and in the end, having the people who already knew the business, had already worked on their products, who knew what the customer experience was for Warby Parker, they were able to do it, and our team, they just crushed it.
How important is the the in-store experience to y'all now? Like, sort of, you started as an online brand. Is that still the home, or is everything both online and offline? Is it clicks and mortar? Is that, just to use an old 2000 term for this stuff? When you think about the future of the Warby Parker business or about online retail, is it still online, or is it just retail?
It's where the customers are. One of the
Wow,
interesting...
that was a platitude. Wow, well done, sir.
So, I mean, our customers are... At one point, they wanted us to have our customer experience be on social media.
Right.
And so we were very early in video tweeting. We go where customers are, and at one point, the customers were loud and clear. They wanted us to have retail stores. Actually, a story that I've often heard my CEO, Neil, talk about is at one point when we were very small, we had customers, even at that point, saying, "Where's your retail store?" And we didn't have anything. So he said, "Why don't you come to my apartment and set up a bunch of glasses on the table?" And people came into his apartment, which is bizarre. At this point, so we have the store. It's absolutely crucial. When we first launched, one of the key metrics for our success that we use is Net Promoter Score, which is a metric that Bain Consulting really brought to life, and it's an incredible metric. And what Net Promoter Score does is it tells you roughly how many of your customers are promoters, meaning that they'll tell their friends about you, and how many of your customers are detractors, meaning they're going to tell friends, but they're going to say nasty things, and then there's some neutrals, and a little bit of math gives you a score.
Right.
And we look at this number constantly, we talk about it, and what we found when we opened our first retail store was the NPS was a little bit lower in our store than it was on the web.
Huh.
And so one of the things that we've really focused on is bringing those numbers to par, and that's been an interesting challenge for us. It's been really fun, and they are much closer now. We're really happy.
How do you
with them.
track that? How were you tracking that the Net Promoter Score? Like was that just based on surveys? I mean, now there are all of these sort of highly refined metrics that people can use to track people on social media when they tag at Warby Parker or whatever.
Right.
Which, by the way, is a Twitter handle that you can use to reach out to Warby Parker anytime you want. Also, housekeeping note, I'm going to break up the conversation now and say it. There's a Q&A at the end of this, and you can tweet either at me or at Lon. I am at Jay Schieber. Lon is at Lon Binder. And if we don't get to your questions during the Q&A, you can always reach us there. Every way to get a hold of me is online. You can just find me, and I'm sure much the same is true of you. But getting back to this notion of sort of the Net Promoter Score and how y'all were trying, was that something that y'all were doing? Did you also build that tool yourselves, or how was that working?
So more than any company I've ever seen, Warby Parker is extremely data-driven. Even from very, very early on in the company, one of our first hires was somebody to focus purely on consumer insights. And so there's even a joke in the company that we survey our own team constantly. We get probably 2 to 3 surveys a day out from people in the company.
That is annoying.
There's some.
I'm sorry, I was about to cuss, and I know y'all have had problems with that last year. So
We get some jokes that we want to survey our team to find out if they like the surveys. But we do survey our customers not quite as aggressively. Data, even rough data, hard to get data, low tech data is better than no data.
Yeah.
And with this, we've just found straight up surveys has been great. We've gone through a few different tools. It's not something that we've built ourselves. But what we have built ourselves is the tooling to look at that data.
Right.
And so over the last 2 years, we've invested pretty heavily into our data pipeline. And we've got a number of tools that we absolutely love. So we have now moved our entire ERP onto a homegrown system. That's our online processing, and then we moved that.
Are we getting too in the weeds? Do y'all want to hear about? I'm sorry, I don't, because CTO can nerd out. I can listen to this all
Is there
day
a whiteboard
because I
in
love
here?
this enterprise stuff. But I'm just wondering if it's going to make y'all a little sleepy. Maybe we should roll it back a little bit and go to some high level stuff.
We have good tools.
Oh no, keep going. Okay, keep going.
Okay.
So let's talk about the ERP systems.
So we've built this ERP in-house, and what we've done with it is that we are constantly pulling bits of data out of there, as well as numerous other sources, such as our vendors, including our technology vendors, but also our supply chain vendors and all of our other logistics vendors, into what we call a landing data warehouse, which is basically a roughly unmodified version of that data, and we give SQL access to everybody in the business. And then from there, we clean it up into a data warehouse. I'm going to the higher level a little bit. Clean it up into it. But it's just a database. So a lot of people ask us, are we using really expensive tooling?
Right.
It's not. It's a Postgres. Actually, right now it's MySQL, about to be Postgres database. Again, we provide SQL access to it. And then what we do after that is we move it into a business intelligence tool.
Right.
And we use Looker, which is a fantastic tool.
Looker is great, yeah.
Absolutely love them. They've been an incredible partner for
Yeah.
us. And we provide Looker as kind of, it's a half business intelligence tool, but it's the data warehouse.
Right.
And what has been a great moment in our business was the point where we unified the definition of our key metrics in a single place. So case in point, historically, there would be a question about how do you define revenue, or how do you define
Right.
a customer lifetime value, and different departments might do that differently, and they had their own mostly Excel or Google Sheets based dashboards where they were having all sorts of crazy formulas, and those have been now unified and through lots of conversations and validation in a single place, so everybody's sharing and looking at a consistent metric.
What are some other metrics that y'all look at that people might not think of? So you talk about sort of this I forgot your term of art for it, but the how much your customers love you score, right?
NPS.
Yeah. So what other things are y'all looking at that people either might not think of or should be thinking of when they think about how to define their business beyond just revenue?
Yeah, it's an excellent question.
No, it's not, but I'll try. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it is really important, and I think it's a little bit of a moving target. So over different stages of your business, there's going to be different metrics that are appropriate, and it's also there's going to be sub-metrics that are within projects. So as an engineer, what I would point to is performance of your website. So I'll do a little shout out. One of my favorite shows on TV is Shark Tank. I'm a little bit obsessed with it.
You like Shark Tank?
I love Shark Tank.
Why?
so-
Why? This guy's the worst.
It's so
They're terrible.
enjoyable. I eat it up. I also like The Prophet, too, my CNBC fan. So, but one of the things that happens on the Shark Tank that they've talked about over and over again is that entrepreneurs, they go on and they pitch this incredible idea, and more than anything, they're getting free advertising, and then their site crashes. And so typically, I don't have an exact metric, it's hard to measure. If your site goes down for a few minutes, chances are your customers are going to revisit your site. So it's not the end of the world. If you just put yourself in those shoes, if you went to a website and you were hoping to buy something, and the site was saying it's not loading, you'd probably go check out your email and then go back to the site. But if it's down for a day,
Yeah.
or it's down for 9 days, as has been the case in some instances, those customers are long gone and you're never getting them back. So one of the metrics that's most important is your uptime, and also your site reliability and your site performance. So these are areas that we focus on, and there's more than enough data out there from Google and Microsoft that points to every 300 to 500 milliseconds, which is roughly the agreed upon number of average page load time, so which is roughly when a user can take advantage of the page, is equivalent to conversion increase. So if you want to make more money online, make your site go faster.
How much do y'all need to worry about or move to mobile? Like, is mobile something that y'all have spent a lot of time on already? I've never even tried a Warby Parker. Is there a Warby Parker app?
There is no Warby Parker app, but we have a very mobile-friendly website and getting more mobile-friendly right now. So
Are you going to have a Warby Parker app?
we don't have any plans at the moment for it.
Let's break some news, Lon. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's what the customers have asked for. So
Right.
what the customers want to be able to do, and what they've told us, is they want to buy when they want to buy, right? So if they're on mobile and they want to browse our products, then we had to get there. And I have to tell you, 3 years ago, we weren't there. So our site really was terrible on mobile, and we got a lot of kudos for our desktop experience.
Right.
Looked good on tablet as well. It's a nice form factor. But you go on mobile, and it was very painful. So we shifted, and again, we added a metric, and we became mobile first.
Right.
And so what mobile first means is that every project we worked on started with mobile.
Right.
And there were definitely some pain points along the way where we had projects post that demarcation point that were not really mobile first. And we had little freak out moments in the office about it. But now we are definitely mobile first, and the traffic is absolutely going up and to the right. More and more of the mix is coming from mobile. And what's interesting, we're having some conversations about this now. People will often say, well, mobile has generally lower conversion across the board in e-commerce, so does that mean that people aren't shopping? No, it doesn't mean that just because the mix is leaning towards mobile. But what it means is that the unified customer experience, not to play too much kind of bullshit bingo, but like the total experience.
That's $1, my friend.
That's right.
American National Humane Society. I'm gonna put it down for you. I'm gonna give it. This is anytime we cuss, it's just gonna go straight to. There we go. I'm giving it 20.
Oh,
Wow,
I'm gonna cuss more.
High roller. TechCrunch pays well. All right, continue. Sorry.
So what we're thinking about is the total customer experience. So if a customer is in mobile and they're just browsing, maybe that's their intention, but maybe later they're going to go into a store,
yeah.
right? And their intention is to buy, but they want to start it on mobile. Or maybe they want to go back home later at night when they're more comfortable to fill out a form, and they want to do it on their desktop. So that's okay, and you have to be okay with that. And what we're trying to model for is that the entire experience is wonderful, and that the journey for the customer through their interactions with Warby Parker is exactly just delightful every step of the way, and that there's no point where you're saying, oh, not another one of these, or not this.
That is goddamn beautiful. See, and now the floodgates are open. But that's a beautiful, beautiful sentiment, sir. I love it. When you think about tracking your customer, and that's something that, and I'm about to wrap it up because we've got about 10 minutes left, and I want y'all to ask questions to us. But my last question is, as the retail experience has gotten more and more sort of parsed, a lot of people are looking at things like beacons, iBeacons, in-store tracking, things like that. That scares the crap out of me. No, I said crap. I'm good actually. But I find that to be really annoying and invasive in a way that other forms of tracking, for whatever reason, aren't. When y'all think about the retail experience, are y'all thinking about doing this kind of in-store tracking, monitoring what people are looking at as they move around sort of the Warby Parker stores? Is that something y'all are doing?
Yeah, it is something that we think about. So again, what we think about, it starts with data, is that we want to create this incredible customer experience. And so that starts with data for us. And that data can be qualitative, and in this case, we want it to be quantitative.
Right.
And so part of it is figuring out a way to make that not uncomfortable. So talking to customers, one of the things that we've learned is that not a lot of customers realize that there is so much tracking technology available in the retail stores. And if you're going into any modern large retailer, chances are that they have some type of device in there that's tracking you. And it could be an iBeacon, but it could just as well be any from a number of companies that's tracking your cell phone signature,
right.
Or making a heat map of how you move around, or doing facial detection. These are all technologies that are off the shelf at this point.
They're watching you. Everyone is watching you.
They're all watching
the time.
you. Now, they're not necessarily associating your face to your name, but they are creating some random number and seeing what's going on. And at Warby Parker, what we've tried to figure out is how to make this as comfortable. So it started with our amazing general counsel, Anjali Kumar, who came from Google. And one of the first things she did was revamp our privacy policy and our terms of use to make it much more readable and friendly so that customers can understand what it was, and to be very clear about what we're doing,
right.
which is also just to never do anything wrong with customer information. And we consider ourselves, in some ways, we deal with medical information. These are
right.
prescriptions. And so we have a very high level of security and focus and attention to the quality of this data. So when it comes to our stores, right. we're trying to make smart decisions right now about starting to collect data in a way that customers will be okay with.
I don't want to be rude, but I want everyone to be able to ask questions. I'm not exactly sure how the questioning thing works. You can tweet at me if you want. I think I have my phone on me. Or at Lon. Is there someone walking around with a mic? Hello, world? Okay, so if somebody wants to get a question, there are mics out front, and y'all can just like stand up and ask, I guess.
You guys ready for Q&A?
I think we're ready for Q&A. Am I early?
No, you're right on time.
Right on time. That's what I try.
Okay, so we've got 2 microphones right up here. We'd love for you guys to jump up here and ask these gentlemen some questions. I'm sure you've got something on your mind. I know that there are probably 400,000 emails sitting in this room right now that are unread. But at a minimum, can we ask a couple of questions to these guys? Would love it. Wouldn't you love it?
Yeah. I would love it.
And of course, you can tweet them, and of course, you can ask them face to face if you're just too nervous to stand up here with a microphone, because trust me, it can be a bit chilling.
Here's a good one. I got a good one from at Spencer Dukoff. Hey, at Spencer Dukoff. Nice question, buddy. How are millennials driving the Warby Parker strategy? Are there any customer demos that are currently underserved? That is an amazing question. Wow, well done.
That's a tough question. Probably in 2 ways, and marketing is definitely not my expertise, but on the inside, first of all, a lot of our employees are millennials, and that they represent a big voice of the market. And so a lot of times, the way that we make decisions is based on what our employees are saying. We hire really incredible people, and then we listen to them. So just as a case in point, when we're trying new frame designs, we'll put them out and we go through structured surveys and we bring people from our team around and try them on and give feedback on them. In terms of the market, definitely the millennial market is a big part of our demographic, and that is driving a part of it, but over time, our market has gotten bigger. So as I mentioned before, we have a wider range of prescriptions and different types of frames, and that is to serve a broader market. So probably early on, the millennials were the primary focus, just based on age more than anything else, but over time that's expanding.
That's profound. I'm listening. I'm looking at all these tweets that are getting shouted at me. I come by y'all naturally, first of all, for all you people who are doubting. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. My y'all is original. It is authentic. Represent Louisiana. What's up? I want to clear that up right now. That y'all is not affected at all. So y'all can take that in your pipes and shove it. So wait, there was another really good one that wasn't about partnering with a sorority, which was kind of a silly question. How did Warby build its brand so fast and become a press darling? Comms person on staff? Outside firm? Luck? It's actually because their glasses are really cool and kind of great, but I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, the real answer is it's all of the above. So we definitely work with a really incredible public relations firm. We have an incredible communications team inside. From very early on, our CEOs were thoughtful about that, but also it's the number one source of our growth has been word of mouth, and we track this. It's been incredible. So we focus on customer experience. We look at this Net Promoter Score. We say what's working, what's not. We get rid of the stuff that's not working or improve it, and we enhance the stuff that's going well. And customers tell their friends. The proof is quite public. Nowadays this stuff is really transparent. You go on Twitter, you go on Instagram, and you look at the hashtags related to Warby Parker, and there are tons of people who are just tweeting about loving the product, and that makes us so happy that it makes us want to do it more. It's this incredibly virtuous cycle of we do things that make our customers happy, they do things that then make us happy, which is buying glasses and telling their friends to buy glasses, and then we do more of that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's been our number one growth of the brand.
And now there are actual real people who want to ask real questions that are lined up out there, so we're going to...
Can you believe it? It's working.
Thank you.
IRL.
You gotta introduce yourself, and you gotta project, really give it to us. What do you got?
My name's Connor Scott, and I'm out of Chattanooga, and me and my brother started a backpack company called Granola. We're kind of an outdoor brand. But my real question is kind of two parts. So when it comes to going online, I think every company, just kind of sits there and their mouth waters at the idea of not giving anything to a retailer, So really, what are some of like overarching things you guys did in the execution end of things with going all online? And then also, what industries do you see this working in? Do you think it worked really well because you guys were the first people in the glasses industry, or do you see this becoming like a total phenomenon in every industry?
Can I actually take this one? So I've seen this play out in a lot of different industries. I mean, like, you can talk about glasses, but I think there's no category that can't use that direct model. The most important thing that Warby did, and that all of the other brands that I've seen that have been successful at this have done, is narrative. It's all about the story you're telling. And like, so much about being a retailer is about the brand identity, right? If you look at things like Chubbies, if you look at, which is a totally different business from Warby, and is about like tech bros selling shorts to other tech bros, and I love those guys, but they're kind of douchey. I mean, like, it's like a different bit. Sorry, it's a different bit of a brand. But as long as you have that narrative and you know the audience that you're trying to reach out to, and you can get them online, you can do really well. I mean, there's no reason not to, because having that physical presence is a risk ultimately. I mean, if you can go direct, you don't have to worry about any of the expenses that are associated with a lot of the things that bedevil companies. And sorry, Chubbies guys, I love you. Y'all are great, wherever you are. Does that answer your? I mean, like, there's no limit to the ways it can go. I've seen people that are doing sheets, selling like bedding online. People are selling beds. Like Casper is doing a great job as a mattress company, and they're really taking mattress companies to the mattresses. I've always wanted to make that joke. But I hope that answers your question. I think we have time for like one more, if there's someone else.
Yeah, hi. My name's Mariah. I'm the Director of Operations for a Nashville-based menswear brand. Just really curious to learn more about your inventory management system. Particularly, obviously, your model is you send out excess product to the customer, then that they send back to you. So, especially at the beginning, when you didn't have the volume you do now, how did you guys manage that and make sure you had enough, styles and frames to send out, but not so much, you left getting screwed over by having way too much?
That's a good question. So there's really two things in there. So one of them is about the inventory management as it relates to our home try-on program, right? And then the second part is about the retail operations. And just for anybody who doesn't know, the Warby Parker home try-on model is essentially you go on our website and you pick 5 frames that you're interested in trying on. We ship them to you for free. You try them on. You probably put them on social media so your friends tell you if you look great. And then you send them back. And so this creates a huge amount of inventory that's constantly cycling in and out of our warehouse and into people's homes and then back. And it is challenging. So what we did at least early on, and we continue to do, is we relied on a third party who had a really sophisticated inventory management system, and we leaned on them to manage that for us. And then we just took the aggregate information off of that. And I would encourage you, if it's not something that's key value, so in that case, the management of it wasn't key to the success of the business, that's what we did, and now we're starting to build that in-house. And just quickly, the second part of it was related to retail, is before we took on retail, as we often do, is we called lots and lots of smart people in the retail space. I called the CIO of many major retailers, and I said the exact same question, which is how do I tackle retail inventory? And I heard, interestingly, a consistent answer, which was that if you have roughly less than a dozen stores, you just do it on spreadsheets or paper and you're totally fine. If you have over 100 stores, you absolutely need an enterprise inventory management system. And if you're in the middle, you're screwed. And so it's too expensive to buy it, but you can't live without it. We right now have a dozen stores and we're getting ready to open 8 more, so we're a little bit screwed, but we're building our own inventory management.
And with that, I gotta end it. We're like a minute over time. I'm terribly sorry. I could talk to you all day, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank
John
you all.
Schieber, Lon Binder, thank you
Thanks,
very
everybody.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Killed it, yes.
Thank you so much.
That was awesome. Thank you, guys.